Hey y'all, I'm coming to y'all because I got a little notification and it's from the Hill. So I thought I would share with y'all as I look over this myself. I must say, I am constantly surprised by how many people have a comment about Black America who are not Black. I find it very interesting, don't you? So I tell you what, we're going to look over this bad boy together. I had to go and get some paperwork, but it wasn't ready yet, so. And I don't feel so hot. But what I can do is go over this little article with you all. So we have us some little quality time. Okay. So this is a notification. Jared Kushner, Ivanka Trump's husband, or Ivanka Kushner's husband, says that Black Americans have to want to be successful, which gives you the impression, or gives me the impression, that Black people don't want to be successful. How about that? Black people must not want to be successful if Mr. Kushner, had to take it upon himself to state that they have to want to be. So it says White House senior advisor Jared Kushner said Monday that in order for the president's policies to be most effective, Black Americans must want to succeed. How about that? Now, I know quite a few Black people, including myself, and I was of the firm impression that we wanted to be successful, that we did not want to go to jail, and we did not want to be shot by police officers. Okay? He says, one thing we've seen in a lot of the Black community, which is mostly Democrat, is that President Trump's policies are the policies that can help people break out of the problems that they're complaining about. Kushner, who is Trump's son-in-law, said during a Fox News interview, but he can't want them to be successful more than they want to be successful. What you're seeing throughout the country now is a groundswell of support in the Black community because they're realizing that all of the different bad things that the media and the Democrats have said about President Trump are not true. And so they're seeing that he's actually delivered, Kushner added. His comments come just 8 days before the presidential election, with nationwide polls consistently showing Trump trailing Democratic nominee Joe Biden, who also leads in many battleground states. Black voter turnout hit a 20-year low in 2016, and both campaigns have focused heavily on courting Black Americans. Historically, Republican presidential candidates have done poorly with Black voters, but Trump garnered double-digit support among Black men in 2016, which didn't stop police officers from killing them, I might add. But polls this cycle point to a significant lead for Biden over Trump with Black voters. In a New York Times Siena poll released last week, 90% of black respondents said they were or had already voted for Biden, while just 4% said the same for Trump. Trump's re-election campaign has touted accomplishments ranging from prison reform and economic opportunity zones to the record low unemployment rate of black Americans before the coronavirus pandemic took hold. I was working a job that was killing me. So it was a job, but it wasn't a beneficial job for me, and definitely not a successful job for me. Um, let's see. It's disgusting to see internet trolls taking senior advisor Jared Kushner out of context as they try to distract from President Trump's undeniable record of accomplishment for the black community. White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany said in a statement Monday, from criminal justice reform and record historically black colleges and universities funding to which I don't go to historically black universities. I have not attended not one ever. Um, let's see. From criminal justice reform, and I think that they're talking about the people that Kim Kardashian brought to Trump. Um, and record funding to record low black unemployment and record high income increases. Not for me. Um, there is simply no disputing that President Trump accomplished what Democrats merely talked about. I don't know what this boy is talking about, y'all. Y'all tell me, is this true in your case if you're black and seeing this? Because it's definitely not true in my case. And as far as I know, nobody else. Kushner's comments came in response to the White House meeting with rapper Ice Cube about policies that would bring more equity to black communities around the country. And you know that's a hot mess with Ice Cube. The Trump campaign and Republican National Committee have also tried to dispel the notion that Trump is a racist. I think the New Yorkers have a definite opinion about that. Dismissing the president's incendiary comments about race that have at times sparked bipartisan criticism. President Trump, I'm laughing, but President Trump may not always say the right things, but he does the right things. He says what's on his mind and he gets results, Kushner said on Monday. So, what do y'all think about that? I think it is very interesting. Okay, so that was that on what Kushner said. That was on thehill.com. Now, when I look in my messages, I think that's the way I received it. It was, let me search, hold on. I got a text message with an attachment from the Biden campaign. Let's see, voter registration. Okay, looks like, let me see. Okay, here we go. This is a link. Joe Biden highlights Joe Biden's agenda for the black community. Okay, let me see. Let's pull it up. This is at JoeBiden.com. Huh. So the link now is not going to um, what Joe Biden wants to do for the black community, but goes instead to donate. Donations. Okay, so let's look it up this way. What is Joe Biden's plan? Okay. What is Joe Biden's plan for the black community? Okay. Lift every voice. The Biden plan for Black America. Joe Biden knows that African Americans can never have a fair shot at the American dream so long as entrenched disparities are allowed to quietly chip away at opportunity. He is running for president to rebuild our economy in a way that finally brings everyone along, and that starts by rooting out systemic racism from our laws, our policies, our institutions, and our hearts. This mission is more important now than ever before as the health and economic impacts of COVID-19 have shined a light on and cruelly exacerbated the disparities long faced by African Americans. In April 2020, Biden called on the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention. I'm gonna have to make some notes, do some research, I think. Okay. Hold on, y'all. I gotta get a pen, I think. Hold on. Okay. Got a pen. Okay, let's see. Biden called on the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, so that's the CDC, um, to collect more data regarding how COVID-19 is affecting communities, including breaking down its impacts by race. The data we've seen so far suggests that African Americans are dying from COVID-19 at a higher rate than whites. Long-standing systemic inequalities are contributing to this disparity, including the fact that African Americans are more likely to be uninsured and to live in communities where they are exposed to high levels of air pollution. African Americans also represent an especially high percentage of the frontline workers. I think that's more to it. Um, Putting themselves in greater risk to sustain the economy and keep the rest of the country safe and fed, and are less likely to have a job they can do from home, forcing them to make the difficult choice between their health and a paycheck. While there's a lot we don't yet know about COVID-19, we do know that equitable distribution of resources like testing and medical equipment can make a difference in fighting the virus. Biden believes this should be a priority and action must be taken now. COVID-19 is also having a disappropriate economic impact on African American families. African American small businesses have been hit hard, and over 90% of African American owned businesses are estimated to be shut out of the initial release program due to pre-existing systematic disparities in lending. This is especially dire given that African American families have less of a financial cushion to fall back on in hard times. Biden has been calling for the nation's relief and recovery efforts to be equitable and just, including by designing relief programs in ways that avoid methods we know lead to disparate outcomes. So that funds can actually reach African American families, communities, and small businesses. President Trump has not heeded his warnings. If Biden were president today, he would make it a top priority to ensure that African American workers, families, and small businesses got the relief they need and deserve. But he's not saying how. Tackling systemic racism and fighting for civil rights has been a driving force throughout Biden's career in public service. Again, no examples. He has a record for fighting and delivering for the African American community. As a U.S. Senator, he co-sponsored the Civil Rights Act of 1990. So let's look up that. Civil Rights Act of 1990. I've never heard of it. Have you? And this is to protect against employment discrimination and led multiple reauthorizations of the Voting Rights Act. Voting Rights Act, protecting African Americans' right to vote. Biden also led efforts to reauthorize and extend the Fair Housing Act. And as Delaware Senator, was a vocal advocate and supporter of the Delaware State University, the state's historically black university. Today, we need a comprehensive agenda for African Americans with ambition that matches the scale of the challenge and with recognition that race-neutral policies are not a sufficient response to race-based disparities. The Biden plan for Black America will advance the economic mobility of African Americans and close the racial wealth and income gaps. How? Doesn't say. Expand access to high-quality education and tackle racial inequality in our education system. How? Doesn't say. Make far-reaching investments in ending health disparities by race. How? How? When doctors and nurses are racist? How? Strengthening America's commitment to justice. How? Make the right to vote and the right to equal protection real for African Americans. How? Address environmental justice and how it affects African Americans. It's not mentioned, it just says address environmental justice. Advance the economic mobility of African Americans and close the racial wealth and income gaps. Invest in African American businesses and entrepreneurs. Approximately 4% of small business owners are African American, even though African Americans make up approximately 13% of the population. To build wealth in African American communities, we must invest in the success of African American businesses and entrepreneurs. Ensuring equal access to credit and capital. African American businesses often lack the capital they need to succeed. African American businesses are rejected at a rate nearly 20% higher than the white-owned firms. That's because we don't have no support. We don't have support by our family. We don't have support by our friends. Let me tell you something. On my Facebook page, I have where over 500 people have liked my page. Of those people, how many people have bought my books? 0. On my Twitter, I have 800 followers. Of those 800 followers, how many have purchased any of my books? 0. On my YouTube channel, I have 4 or 5 YouTube channels, but the YouTube channel that has the most subscribers has 100 people plus. And how many of those people have bought my book? None. The people who have bought my books, none of those people are on my social media. Explain that. I've invested in promotion. I did marketing. It has netted me 0 sales. On my Amazon account, I have sales. Okay. And I haven't promoted that. You know what I'm saying? Or as far as I know, Amazon doesn't promote my books. But that's where I've gotten purchases. I've gotten purchases through my publisher. On my webpage, nothing. And I'm gonna say this: of all the people that I've gone to school with, that I've worked with, that I have worked with, gone to school with, gone to church with, none of them have bought any of my books. And none of them like any of my pages on Facebook, and none of them are my subscribers on YouTube. Okay? Obama Biden administration created the State Small Business Credit Initiative. State Small Business Credit Initiative. Okay, to support small businesses, driving $10 billion in new lending for each $1 billion in SSB CI funds. Biden will extend this program through 2025 and double its federal funding to $3 billion, driving close to $30 billion in private sector investments to small businesses all told, especially those owned by women and people of color. Guess which women are going to get this money? It ain't gonna be black women. It's gonna be white women. That's what Bill Burr was talking about white women swung their Gucci boots over and took over the woke movement. They take over everything. That's for minorities. They get the benefits, blacks don't. Expand the new markets tax credit, make the program permanent, and double community development financial institutions. CDFI funding. Okay. The new markets tax credit has helped draw tens of billions of dollars in new capital to low-income communities, providing tax credits to investors in community development organizations that support everything from supermarkets to real estate projects and manufacturing plants. As part of his plan to reinvest in communities across the country, including the rural areas, Biden will also double funding for the Community Development Financial Institutions Fund, which supports local, mission-driven financial institutions in low-income areas around the U.S. This builds Biden's proposal to support entrepreneurs in small towns and rural areas by expanding both the Rural Micro Entrepreneur Assistance Program and the number of rural business investment companies to help rural businesses attract capital. Improve and expand small business administration's programs that most effectively support African American owned businesses. The SBA programs have been and remain one of the most effective ways assessing capital for African American owned businesses. Biden will strengthen these existing programs. Okay, so the SBA. Ensuring the SBA has the funding it needs to support African American owned businesses and others in the current crisis and beyond. Trump has once again proposed a massive cut of 25% in the SBA budget for fiscal year 2021, including a 35% cut in funding to small business development centers, a 20% cut to the SBA microloan program, and significantly increased fees for the 7A loan program, which is SBA's main loan program for small businesses. I guess Jared Kushner was talking out of his wazoo yet again, right? Making permanent the successful Community Advantage loan program. Loans. Originally created during the Obama-Biden administration, the program, which provides capital for startups and growing small businesses located in particularly underserved communities through CDFIs and other mission-driven lenders, has been run as a pilot program since 2011. I didn't know nothing about it. Biden will make this program permanent and reverse rules enacted by the Trump administration that are making it more difficult for lenders to participate in the program and lend to African American owned businesses and other businesses located in underserved communities. Increase opportunities for African American owned businesses to obtain or participate in federal contracts. This is a big one, okay? Okay, that's a big one. You know me, I got my W-9 right here, honey, to be filled out so that I can be a contractor with the federal government. Okay, that's paperwork that I need to do. Increase funding for the Minority Business Development Agency budget, MBDA. Okay. The Trump administration has pushed for a 75% cut in MBDA's budget. Biden would protect and call for increased funding for it. Protect small and disadvantaged businesses from federal and state contract bundling, which often locks out African American owned smaller firms from efficiently bidding on procurement contracts. Biden will build on the anti-bundling provisions of the Small Business Jobs Act of 2010 by having the Office of Management and Budget, SBA, and MBDA conduct a government-wide review of existing contract bundling to determine whether agencies are following existing rules and whether agencies have the ability to further ensure small business participation in federal and state procurement opportunities. Then there's economic relief based on COVID-19. They want to provide small business owners, black business owners, with technical assistance. And you know, most black people ain't going to trust that. Reserve half of all the new PPP funds for small businesses with 50 employees or less. Produce a weekly dashboard to show which small businesses are accessing loans. Okay. Expand African American home ownership and access to affordable, safe housing. That's going to be a big one. Okay. Help families buy their first homes and build wealth by creating new refundable, advanceable tax credit for up to $15,000. That's peanuts. $15,000, baby, that ain't nothing. That ain't nothing. Tackle racial bias that leads to homes in communities of color being assessed by appraisers below their fair value. Roll back Trump administration policies gutting fair lending and fair housing protections, strongly enforce fair credit reporting laws, and create a new public credit reporting agency. I don't know. I just had a bad experience with credit, y'all. I ain't lying. I had to cut up them cards because they weren't improving my credit rating. I had the credit, I'm paying on time, but yet my credit rating never improved. How is Biden going to fix that? Fair credit reporting. They rush to put any time that you are a nanosecond late in paying, but when you pay on time, it does nothing. They just ignore that. Okay. Protect homeowners and renters from abusive lenders and landlords through a new homeowner and renter Bill of Rights. This new Bill of Rights will prevent mortgage brokers from leading borrowers into loans that cost more than appropriate. Prevent mortgage servicers from advancing a foreclosure when the homeowner is in the process of receiving a loan modification. Give homeowners a private right of action to seek financial redress from mortgage lenders and servicers that violate these protections, and give borrowers the right to a timely notification on the status of their loan modifications and to be able to appeal modification denials. Roll back Trump administration policies gutting fair lending and fair housing protections from homeowners. Hold financial institutions accountable for discriminatory practices in the housing market. Yeah, okay. I'd see it before I believe it. It says in 2013, the Obama-Biden administration codified a long-standing court-supported view that lending practices that have a discriminatory effect can be challenged even if discrimination is not explicit. But now the Trump administration is seeking to gut this disparate impact standard by significantly increasing the burden of proof for those claiming discrimination, just like the EEOC. Even if you can prove discrimination, good luck finding an attorney to take your case. This don't say nothing about having a directory of attorneys who will take discrimination cases. Restore the federal government's power to enforce settlements against discriminatory leaders. Strengthen and expand the Community Reinvestment Act to ensure that our nation's bank and non-bank financial service institutions are serving all communities. Eliminate local and state housing regulations that perpetuate discrimination. Increase access to affordable housing, establishing $100 billion affordable housing fund to construct and upgrade affordable housing, providing tax incentives for the construction of more affordable housing in communities that need it most. Protect homeowners during the COVID-19 crisis, promote more equitable wealth building and a more secure retirement, equalize the tax benefits of defined contribution plans, remove penalties for caregivers who want to save for retirement, give small businesses a tax break for starting a retirement plan and giving workers the chance to save at work, make Social Security benefits more generous and equitable, invest in communities that need it most, fully implement Congressman Clyburn's 10-20-30 plan to help all individuals living in persistently impoverished communities, create a White House strike force to partner with rural communities to help them access federal funds, drive additional capital into low-income communities to spur the development of low-income housing, build and modernize infrastructure in communities that need it most, invest in historically marginalized communities, and bring everyone to the table for transportation planning. Again, it doesn't say that's for African Americans, does it? Bring broadband to every American household. Again, that's not for blacks. Read Joe Biden's full plan to invest in infrastructure in our communities at JoeBiden/infrastructure, and his full plan for older Americans at JoeBiden.com, older-Americans. Support African American workers. Fight for equal pay. Ensure federally funded projects protect workers. This is the Good Jobs for the 21st Century Energy Act. I'm interested in that. Good Jobs for 21st Century Energy Act. Adopting all basic labor protections, ensuring that all investments meet Davis-Bacon wage guidelines. Davis-Bacon wage guidelines. I'm sure going to look that up and put the star by that. Encourage diverse hiring and promotion practices. Good luck with that, honey. Because as soon as they see my name, Colita, I'm out. I have even had people here copy my resume and put their name on it and get a job. They get the job, not me. Restore the federal government's role in setting the bar for other employers to advance opportunities for all workers. All workers. Protect essential workers in the COVID-19 crisis. Turn unemployment insurance into employment insurance. Expand access to high-quality education and tackle racial inequality in our education. So this just seems too much. It's too much. It's too complicated. It's too much. It's too big. yes, because it's this big, it's just too much to implement for a population that's so small. It's just too much. It's too convoluted. It's too big. It's just. But anyway, paid for by Biden for president, a campaign made up of millions of grassroots donors and absolutely zero malarkey. So that's JoeBiden.com. Hyphen. Let me give it to you. It's to lift every voice and sing the Biden plan for African Americans, which, as you can already tell, is mostly for everybody. It's not specifically geared for what Black people have to deal with. Meanwhile, Jared Kushner is saying that Trump is really helping Black Americans, which, quiet as it's kept, I really believe that he is, because a lot of the small businesses in the Black community, that's where children are being molested and women are being raped and prostitution is going on in the back and drug deals are going down and trafficking in child pornography and all that kind of stuff is happening there with the criminals and low lives and the trash in our community. They're the ones that are going in to meet with the Black business owners, and if Black guys don't work with them or Black people don't work with them, they call in the federal government on them and file all kinds of complaints and stuff against them, trying to get them shut down because they won't do prostitution, because they won't sell drugs, because they won't allow Black little kids to be molested in their businesses. And Joe Biden ain't saying nothing about protecting, looking into that. Law enforcement, a lot of the dirty cops, they're strong arming the Black business owners. That's not being talked about. It's not being addressed. So, as Trump would say, it is what it is. I think that the reason why Trump is trying to shut down the money to all of this stuff is because he's trying to prevent this from happening. And that's what Jared Kushner is trying to say, that Trump is really trying to help. Because you just can't put $30 billion out there and there's nobody to check up on anything. There's nobody who's going to do the quality control, who's going to do the quality and assurance, who's going to be checking to make sure that people are doing what they're supposed to do. You just can't throw money at this and say, have at it. And then when it fails, then they're going to blame Black people. Just like Jared Kushner is saying now, you have to want to succeed. The very people that are being victimized and looked over and stolen from and manipulated and bullied and discriminated against and stolen from, when all of these government acts fail, they're going to blame Black people for the failure and say, there's just no way to help them. When they're being set up to fail. They're being set up to fail. All those things that Biden is setting about, it's not going to work without some people who are ethical to also be in place to regulate this and to double check on this and pop in to see how things are going, really monitor all of this stuff. And especially with law enforcement, dirty cops, they're going to see that $30 billion and immediately it's going to be like blood in the water amongst a bunch of sharks. Mm, mm, mm. Well, you know how we do. Leave your comments below, and we'll discuss it there. Let me know your thoughts. If you get a chance to read Biden's plan, please do so, and let me know what you think. If you search the document, you will not find quality assurance. You will not find investigations. You will not find that there is a FBI task force that's going to be set up for them to do monitoring and monitoring and investigation of criminal behavior of other people of other races coming to take advantage of black people. That's all. See y'all in the comments.